Hello Year 9, this is Mrs Davis and I'm hoping today that I'm going to guide you through the process of choosing your options and introduce you to the options brochure. I'm sorry that I can't be with you, and I'm aware that this is a really important time in your life when you're making decisions that are going to obviously have life-changing consequences for you in the future in terms of what you're going to do when you leave school. So I do want you to take your time with it, and I do want you to think about it really carefully, and I am always here, so if you do have any questions at all and you want to email me, then please do feel free. You should be getting a link through on MyEd in the next day or so, basically giving you a link to this brochure online and also an online version of the options form. So that's really helpful to you because it's a really quick way of doing it. But we've also listened to a lot of you saying that you've been struggling to print things. So although this brochure, I'm going to upload it onto Show My Homework electronically, and I'm also going to make sure you've got the copy of the form electronically as well on Show My Homework. But we are also going to send you a printed version of the brochure in the post, and that should be coming out to you in the next couple of days. Hopefully that'll save you on your printing. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this brochure now. And I'm going to explain to you how you might go about using it. So first thing to know, we've got an introductory page here, and that just tells you a little bit about Brimore, and then this is probably the really important page. So on this page it tells you about the 4 core subjects that we study at Brimore GCSE. The one that's a bit unusual there is design technology. So English, maths and science everybody studies, but we also, every boy at Brimore studies DT, and that's not the case in all schools, but we do that because DT is one of the 4 cornerstones, and also because we know boys do so well in DT here and get really good grades. So it's an opportunity for you to do a subject that you know you're going to do really well in. You then have 3 option blocks, and these are 3 chances for you to choose one subject from each. So 3 times when you can choose a subject that you want to do. And you can see you've got option block A, option block B and option block C. And there's a list of subjects here in option block A. You can choose one of the subjects in each column. And where I need to emphasise that, if you were going to choose, for example, in this first option block, you've got either history or geography or engineering or French. Now let's say you pick engineering in this block here. I have to say you cannot choose it again. So you can't choose engineering again in option block B. You can only choose it once. If you've chosen it there, you can't choose it again here. But we do put things like engineering and land-based in 2 blocks, and that's really to try and give you more choices. The idea being that, let's say you wanted to do engineering, but you also want to do history. It means you could choose history in this block here, but you could still do it with engineering by choosing engineering in option block B. Similarly, if you were to choose, let's say, French in this block here, you could still do geography by choosing geography in that block there. But you cannot choose a subject twice, otherwise you just repeat yourself. The other thing I was going to say is it is compulsory, so we do have to choose either history or geography. So if you don't choose history or geography in option block A, let's say you chose engineering, then you have to choose geography in option block C here, because you have to have at least one of those 2 subjects as one of your choices. The only last thing I'm going to say is computer science. It says here 6+ in maths. That's because computer science is really quite mathematical, so it's important that you're quite good at maths in order to be able to cope with it. Having said that, Mr Dixon and I have had a conversation, and he is very clear about the fact that he thinks some of you may very well be able to do computer science even if you don't have a prediction of grade 6+ in maths. It's a good idea to be in set 1 or 2 for maths, but please, if you're thinking about computer science and you're worried about your prediction because you don't think it's going to be a 6+, then do email Mr Dixon, because he has said that he's happy to talk to you and he'll let you know whether he thinks it's something that you could do. Finally, French. We offer French, but I've got to be honest, not many people choose it each year. So we will run it, but only if there are enough boys that pick it. So do be aware, if you choose French in option block A, it is quite likely that it probably won't run unless we get lots and lots of boys wanting to do that. So hopefully that's explained to you, but now you want to know, how do I go about knowing what each subject does, and what's it going to do for me in my career, and how's it going to be useful? Well, first of all, in this book we we go through all the core subjects. So we start with English. We tell you who to contact if you want to ask a question. So that's Mrs. Taylor Lane. You can see her email address at the top. It'll tell you a little bit about English at Brimall. What will GCSE be like? It tells you which topics we cover at GCSE, for example, Macbeth or Blood Brothers. And then it takes you through the final examination. So what exams you're going to take. We do that again for maths, and then we'll do it for other core subjects as well. I've also put a notice in here for you in terms of understanding the new 9-to-1 grading. So I know they're not massively new anymore, but you know, if you went to school when people got A stars to Gs, then this hopefully will provide you with a conversion table. It's printed really poorly, I'm afraid, on my printing. It's my home printer, but hopefully the version you've got is going to be much, much clearer. So in short, a grade 9 is the equivalent to an A star. If you get grade 9, then you're in the top 5% of the country. A grade 8 is also an A star. A grade 7 and a 6 would be an A or an A minus. A grade 5 and 4, a 5 is a C plus and a 4 is a C minus. Now that's really important for you to know, because one of the key things that you need to be aware of is that most colleges will say you have to have at least a grade 5, in some cases a grade 4, in English and maths to do any subject that you want to do at A-level equivalent. So if you want to do, say, arboriculture at level 3 equivalent, not level 2, level 2 is only GCSE, level 3 is post-16, that's the A-level equivalent, then you have to have at least a grade 4 or 5 in maths and English. Some colleges will say grade 4, some will say grade 5, and you need to know what your college is telling you before you make that kind of final decision. But also, I just think it's really important from a core point of view that you're aware grade 4 is really, really important to you in terms of opening up your life chances. If you don't get a grade 4 in English and maths or either of those subjects, then you will have to retake that when you go to college. So I think that's really important for you to be aware of as you move forward. Okay, so having gone through all the core subjects, you can see here science, Mr. Craig, taking you through exam boards, key topics covered. What we also try and do is give you career options. So we tell you what careers you could be doing if you go on to do science at GCSE. Now obviously you're all going to do science, so I'm going to zip forward now to each option block. In each option block you can see, starting with history, geography and engineering, each subject has given you their information. They've told you who to contact at the top, so in this case it's Miss Owen because it's history. She tells you what you're going to be doing for history, and then she tells you some examples of careers. So you could be Prime Minister, you could be a lawyer, you could be a barrister, and she's also given you some famous people who've done history as a bit of inspiration for you. And every subject has done that, so all the way through. So here's geography, Mr. Ellis or Mr. Sawyer. They take you through what the geography course is going to be like, which exam board we do, how many exams do I take and when, and then careers that you can be doing if you choose geography for GCSE. And each option block does that in turn. So hopefully you'll be able to go through that together as a family. You'll be able to talk about it with each other. If you do need to email one of the members of staff, they're well aware of the fact that you might do that, and that's absolutely fine. It's no different from having a conversation with them in school, and hopefully they will get back to you and they'll give you some advice about what you want to do next. I hope that's been useful to you. Just a reminder, the deadline for getting this back is the 11th of May. So the 11th of May is when you want to return that. My advice is probably, if you've got MyEd, do it on MyEd, because that will be quicker for you, and I'm going to show you how you can go about doing that in a minute. Thanks. So this is the option choices form. Now most of you will probably do this on MyEd, so you'll get a link to MyEd. It will have a kind of online version of the brochure I've just shown you, and it will also have an online version of this choices form, which I'll show you in a minute. But basically it's exactly the process we've just talked through. If you are going to do it manually and you want to post it back to the school, then please post it to Mrs. Wallace. I've put the address on the top of this form here, and she's the person who's going to collate everything. If you'd like to download it electronically from Show My Homework, you can do that, and you can email it to Mrs. Wallace, and again I've included her email address, although it doesn't appear very clearly on my form. Same process as I explained. You've got your choices: option block A, option block B, option block C. Do not choose the same thing twice, and obviously mix and match, but basically you tick the block for the one that you want to do. When you've done that, you post it back to the school by the 11th of May, and I'm about to show you how you can do this on MyEd if you want to return it via MyEd. So this is me trying to open up MyEd and demonstrate how I would go about doing this online with MyEd. So I'm in the MyEd app, I go to messaging, I can see here, I'm going to click on my messages, and there you go. I should see the message that talks about option choices. I'm going to click on the link here, and it should come up with the form. So this is the same form that I've just shown you on paper, but this time it's online. And you can see it looks slightly different when you come to the option blocks, just because it's online. So you've still got 3 option blocks. You tick in the box for the one that you want to do. And just a quick reminder, you can't choose the same option twice. So you can't choose engineering in that block and again in that one. You have to only choose it once. Computer science I've mentioned again, do get in touch with Mr. Dixon. He has said, even if you haven't got a grade 6 in maths, he is willing to talk to you about it, because he thinks there are some of you that really could benefit from doing it, and actually maybe would be able to do that without that. And then finally, I genuinely hope that this video has been useful to you. Obviously you click on these things here and then you submit that, and then you've done that again. A reminder of the deadline is the 11th of May, and we're going to do our very best to then timetable so that you can get on with the subjects that you know are going to be really important to you next year. I wish you the best of luck. Stay safe, stay healthy.